Hello, gang. Michael Daniels here for another top contributor contribution is the way I call it. It's a contribution of these guys taking time out and doing some fun stuff and showing us some things about what they're an expert in. Those of you that don't know what a top contributor is someone that helps out in the forums, or in Google Plus's case, they do it in a Google Plus community. And there's other ones too that, like business and stuff like that, they have their own thing and their own field and their own way of doing things. But what we do as top contributors, we help answer questions. It's people like you and me. You could become a top contributor. It's that simple and easy to come out and just start helping people inside the forums. I'm going to do a quick screen share so you guys can see what I'm talking about. This is the forum right here. This is the product forum with all the listed of products and stuff. And it's pretty extensive. And some of things that are new, like Google Home isn't there yet, but it'll eventually get there and that kind of thing. I think it might even be included with something else. And we can talk about that in a little bit. But then there's the Google Top Contributor Program, which is right here. There's a website. You can just Google it and come right to it. This is kind of cool. I always like this one. I think this is awesome because it just shows the whole concept and kind of goes through and tells a little bit about, and it gives a page for it. One thing that's kind of cool is, and it's my segue. If you look at the profile page, it's right here. We actually have this top contributor in with us tonight. Russ, say hello to everyone.
Geez.
He did not know I was going to do that, so I gave him. I
think it looks like me, though, right?
It does. I just wanted to say thank you very much for coming, for one thing, and I'm going to take it off of presentation mode just because I wanted to go back and forth while we're conversing right here. But Russ he's involved with Gmail and Inbox as far as a top contributor. He's a rising star in photos and agreed to come in here to help me out tonight. Russ, take it away. Tell me what else you do.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for coming, especially those of you who are able to make our second attempt at this due to some technical issues last time. So far, so good. So Michael basically covered the top contributor bases. Inbox and Gmail are kind of my primary areas. But photos is something that, myself and a lot of us use every day. Whatever it is, everyone can relate to photos and sharing them and editing them, and it's just fun. So I tend to find that I spend a lot of my just fun time doing stuff with my photos and stuff like that. And I help out people, where I can. But hopefully today, I know there's some people who said they were unfamiliar with photos. Shame on you. But hopefully after today, we'll have some people who realize how cool photos is and get it started. So I'm going to go ahead now and kind of share my screen. And Michael, can you put that back in presentation mode too on your side if you haven't?
Doing it right now,
as
a matter of fact. I'm going to switch to me while you're setting that up. Real quick, just if you guys have any questions out there, feel free. Ask your questions. That's fine. If you want to wait till the end, that's when he's mostly going to answer most of them, because I'll star them and try and get them put in there when we can, but we're going to try and limit this to a lot of time. There's a lot to cover in photos, so I think it's real important that I let him do a lot of this stuff. But if it's something that's pertinent to what he's going over right now or at that moment, I will bring that up on screen. You're good to go, buddy. I'm putting it on you.
All right, so here we go. So I've shared my screen here, and something I was unable to do last time that I'm really looking forward to doing is I'm going to be showing you some stuff on the desktop web version of Google Photos, as well as the mobile version. I know a lot of us, we're not always at a computer these days, and a lot of the stuff we're going to be doing is when we have a few minutes here and there, or we're sitting in bed, sitting on the sofa. So I'm glad I'm going to be able to show you things on mobile and web. But more importantly, before I explain where you can get photos from, which you can kind of get from this screenshot here, if you don't know, Google Photos is, I'm going to use my words carefully here, but it's a combination of, a tool and a site for uploading and synchronizing and in some ways backing up your photos. I know Chris is here, so I'm going to be careful using the word backup because she makes a good point about backup for photos. But basically, if you're looking for a way to have all the photos that you take on your phone, I'm going to stop screen sharing here because I remember somebody said they couldn't see me while I was talking. So, you know, a lot of us take pictures on our phones. We take pictures with our digital cameras. We might have pictures from years ago that are on our computers. Google Photos is a great way to take all those photos, put them in one place, organize them, search through them, do really cool things with them, edit them, and of course share them, which is very important. And you know, you really don't even need a Google account. I'm sorry, you need a Google account to have Google Photos, but you don't need to expect the people you're sharing with to have a Google account, depending on what you're going to want them to do. So I'm going to go back over here to my window that I had open.
Yeah, and I found, I'm going to be honest with you, the biggest reason for me with Google Photos is collaboration. It's such a crucial thing, the collaboration part. I mean, even with, I think I put a post in just a little bit ago, my 75-year-old mother actually we can share photo albums, which is fantastic. So,
yeah, and you kind of made me realize I left out a really, to some people, it's a big thing, and I do think it's worth noting. You know, we take a lot of pictures, and a lot of these cameras these days are, especially on our phones, are high resolution. They take HD photos, videos, who knows what else. And all those things take up space. You know, it's not unusual for somebody to run out of storage on their phone, especially if they don't have the benefit of putting a external SD card in their phone. So what's nice is Photos gives you a way to have your photos that you choose, you know, backed up to Google Photos. And if you do run into a situation where your, you know, phone runs out of storage, there are tools built into Google Photos to free up storage by removing the photos from your phone that they have confirmed have been backed up and uploaded to Google Photos. So I think that's a really cool thing they did.
Yep. All right, off you go.
Yeah. So anyways, here's our, you know, to get started, if you don't have Google Photos before, if you're a little new to this or you're not sure what all the options are, there are Google Photo options for Mac and PC, and also for Android and iOS devices like iPhones and iPads. So most of the bases are going to be covered. I think what I just want to show you here really quick. Oh, and by the way, this is photos.google.com/apps. And you can just go there in your web browser and you can kind of pick your poison as far as how you want to get started. If you have a lot of stuff on your computer that you want to upload, I would probably say, hey, you know, think about downloading the desktop uploader. We'll talk about that more later. But kind of the most exciting thing to do first is probably get photos on your phone and get that started. And then you can really start to benefit from it right away. So I'm going to show you here really quick. This tab here.
Quick, I'm going to just mention something real quick. Hey guys, if you guys can't see it for some reason on your end, you can always adjust in the Business Hangouts area where you're watching the video. Down in the bottom right corner is a little gear wheel you can put and change the adjustment to 720 or 480, whatever makes it visible and work for you. I just like to tell everybody that because some people say, hey, I can't see anything. Just want to throw that out there. Go ahead, Russ.
No, that's a good point because, geez, I would hate for people to not be seeing the right stuff.
Right.
I'll make my fair share of mistakes showing the wrong screen. So anyway, so this is the Google Photos website. This is photos.google.com. You know, depending on whether you're on your desktop or phone more, you may use one interface more than the other. But this is really the main screen. When you first look at this, you know, thankfully, I don't think I have any pictures here that are too strange or not. But this screen right here is Photos. This is really a collection of all my recent photos. It's not factoring in, you know, kind of albums or where I took them from. It's kind of just a chronological listing of photos that I'm taking. And then from here, you can kind of do stuff from that. Over on the left, you see albums down here at the bottom. And this is, of course, where you would be able to group stuff into albums. I'll go over that in a little bit more detail in a little bit. You're going to see lots of pictures of my kids and my wife and my family. I'm sure that's probably not too uncommon. And Chip and Dale, if you remember those, not Chippendales, but Chip and Dale, and some other stuff here. And then I'm going to click on Assistant a little bit later. We'll talk about that in a second. But for comparison, here is my phone. Hey, is that coming across okay for you guys? Can you see that, Michael?
Yeah, actually it looks really good.
Okay, good. Yeah. Fingers crossed, right? So I'm going to
That
show
is
you here.
correct.
I'm going to click on photos. And there might be a little bit of a delay as far as how responsive it is, but hopefully you'll be able to see things as I go along here. This is basically the same screen that we're seeing on the web, although if I want to be accurate, I'm going to go over to photos and bring my phone back up. Okay, so it might be a little confusing, but just kind of realize that I have a floating window here that's showing my mobile display. Maybe I'll just kind of do this so it's a little less confusing for you guys. So you're going to see a lot of the same photos here, and that's a good thing. That's kind of the key benefit. Your photos are available in the cloud on your devices, independent of whether you're on your phone or on the web version of photos. That is really cool to me. We all want to be able to access our photos all the time. Just a fun little thing that I'm going to go into here in a little bit. These photos right here, they don't look interesting at all. This is because I have my kid's tablet set up to sync photos to my Google account. Not everybody's going to want to do that, but I will tell you it's really interesting. You do occasionally get photos and videos from your kid's perspective that you would normally not really think about. So it's interesting to see the world through their eyes. So here we go. So if
or
you
in
see,
this case, the clouds in their eyes.
yeah, my ceiling, which isn't super interesting. I got
There you go.
part of the ceiling fan. So yeah, on the mobile version, I'm trying to decide whether I want to use my mouse or my phone. I'm going to use my phone. So a couple of things to notice. This photo with me holding my son here, I'm going to just kind of tap on it. If I go back a screen, you'll notice it has that little icon there. That's letting me know that that is not currently backed up, but it can be depending on my settings. And I can
And that's
manually
a round circular arrow for anyone that can't see that small.
Yeah,
Is that right?
kind of reminds me. It's like a loading.
Okay.
I think it's supposed to represent the kind of auto backup sync
Okay.
type icon. So that's what that is. The ones that don't have that, they are already in the cloud and ready to go.
Okay.
So
and this is this is Google Photos terms, right? They say backup. Is that correct? They use the term backup and use that way.
They do say auto backup, and I want to kind of call out Chris Gould on this a little bit because she makes a good point of saying that it's not necessarily a true form of backup, because backup would traditionally mean that it is a backup copy of data that you have stored somewhere else regularly.
Yep. And she brought this up just so you know. It's just that us old timers think backup is a static disk that we use to restore a crashed system to its original state. That's not what Google Photos does. So she added that. So
yeah, and now I'm even happier that I brought Chris's name into this because now she knows I'm there for her. But it is a really good point. I mean, it's kind of like backing up photos from your phone. But if you delete some of those photos, and that's a little scary that that's showing up. But if you delete these photos from photos, we'll talk about that later. Depending on how you do that, that can delete your device copies as well. That doesn't apply to photos that you have on your computer that you're uploading using the desktop uploader. But there are some things we'll talk about later with deleting photos. Just a little quick interface thing here on the phone. Something really cool that I always liked is the little slider over there on the right. You can kind of see the little arrows going up and down. If I click on that and drag down, see how quickly, can you guys kind of see that showing me the date as I scroll through these?
June, yep.
I can go way back very quickly to any time I want to see photos from. And I think a lot of people, are like, hey, how do I find my photos? For one, I mean, Google is going to be great with search, and that feature alone, just being able to go back to a general time period is great. You can also pinch. I'm sorry, I'm on there we go. I zoomed out a little bit, so now I can see a whole month at a time. For some reason, this screen to me is just really cool. I just love that I can see. It's a little sad in some ways because you're kind of seeing like months that just have gone by with photos. but that's why we take them to remember all that stuff. And I can zoom in again, and I can even zoom in a little bit further, and even a little bit further, until I get into a photo. And there's my son, Micah. So depending on the view you want, you can kind of change what you see and how much you're seeing on your screen at once. I'm going to switch back to the desktop version for a little bit and just show you guys some stuff here. Are we getting any key questions before I keep going on to for Michael, or are we pretty good?
Nothing, just a lot of people verifying and saying the same things. Like I have, I think William Rock mentions, he says, I have my phone sync when I get into my house versus over Wi-Fi and not my cell data.
Yeah, you know, I'm going to take that as a good reminder for me that I didn't talk about something very important. I'm going to go back to my mobile version here. So thank you for reminding me of that. Yeah. So let me just make this make a little bit more sense here. So in the mobile version, you know, I have this installed on my phone already. So it's kind of already configured the way I want. Beyond me totally resetting my Photos app and kind of showing you from the beginning here, I do want to point out that one of the two areas that you really want to pay attention to when you get Photos installed on your phone is settings, and you'll see device folders too. I'm going to just talk about settings first. I'm going to click on settings. Man, the number of people that we see in the forum and help on Twitter, and which is G-Help, who just wonder why their photos aren't backing up. And, you know, we do have to ask, hey, do you have backup and sync turned on? So for one, you know, when you click in here, you can see I do have it turned on. Some people turn that off and they don't realize it's turned off, and they're wondering why their photos aren't syncing. But also really important down here, where you see cellular data backup and when to backup. The benefits to this is it's going to have a big impact on your battery and also the timeliness of when your photos and or videos get backed up. So I just want to show you here. I have mine set up that if I'm on data, I'm okay with photos being backed up on cell data. That's okay with me. But I also have it set up to only back up while charging. That's just a personal preference. Not everybody does that, but you know, I don't need them to back up instantly, but I'm plugging my phone in regularly enough, although I'm probably on Wi-Fi most of that time, where it's going to wait until I'm plugged in to be syncing my photos. I'm going to show you in a minute too that you can always override those settings on a per photo or group of photos basis using the backup now feature, which is really handy.
Yep, I think William Rock brought that up, but go ahead, keep rocking and rolling.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in 1 second.
Right.
So the other really important section here is backup device folders. I'm going to click on that in a second here, but another really common thing that we see is, and this happens when people delete photos from their phone, and also when they're wondering why certain photos aren't showing up in the cloud. You know, by default, Google Photos is kind of backing up your camera gallery photos, so to speak. But as we all know, if you use apps on your phone, you know, where you may create images, edit images, or maybe you're downloading images from a browser or another app or a social site, those apps typically create their own folders that Google Photos refers to as device folders. And by default, those are not backed up. So if I click on that right now, this is a listing of all the device folders. These are folders that other apps have created where some sort of image or media has been created. And Photos will kind of pop up a notification saying, hey, we've detected this new folder. Do you want to, you know, set it to backup automatically? It's probably easy to miss, and people don't see that all the time. So I typically go in here once in a while and just kind of look through here and see what's backing up and what's not. And I'll show you another view where you can see that sort of stuff too. But I think this is the right way to do it. You don't want to automatically back up every photo and video on your phone, no matter where it came from, because sometimes those are copies of images, or you share one through Hangouts. You don't necessarily want to, I mean, I have it checked, but you might have duplicates doing it that way. So I'm going to just back up here. And one last thing about backup and sync. There's my email address there. I'm sure I'll get lots of friendly email now. Really hard to figure out based on my name. But, you know, I'm signed in. If I go back a little bit, there I am. That's the account that I'm signed in to Google Photos with. That means that that's the account that my photos are being stored in. That's the account that the storage is being used for. And that's really important to note. However, it's also important to note that under backup and sync, I can actually choose a different account if I want to. If you had another one or two other accounts on your phone, you could choose a different account. An example of that is, you know, my wife and I kind of made a decision that we want all of our photos to go into one place. Not everybody wants to do that, but her phone, her Google Photos app, the app itself is under her account. So she can, you know, open it up under her Gmail or Google account. But the photos that she takes, all of her photos pool together. And for me, the benefit of that is the ability to browse all of our photos in one place is great. I know there's some other ways to do it with shared albums and stuff like that. But for us, this works, and it's not the way everybody wants to do it. Was there a question there, Michael?
Yeah. Quick note. Chris mentions that you're on Android. OS does not have folders.
Okay, that's good to know. And I mean, yeah, I am not as familiar with the iOS version, and I know there are some things that are a little bit different that we'll talk about in a little bit about sure. Deleting and stuff.
And we're at 22 minutes already, so I'm just letting you know where we are, where we stand. Just give you a little time note so you know where we are. So
can we have until 9:15 or 9?
You can have until 9:15 as far as I'm concerned.
All right, okay, good.
I'm just making you aware so you know where you are in your.
No, I appreciate it. So right. Okay, so I showed you guys that stuff. I'm going to go back now to search here. I'm going to show you guys the desktop version. Just so you guys know where I was. So this is the main Photos web area. Something that's just so cool to me about Photos is, you know, it's Google. So of course you're going to be good with searching. Just right away when I click on the search box at the top of Photos, you can see all these faces. You know, these are kids, family, relatives, people, you know, friends, stuff like that. You also see types of files that are in here: videos, selfies, movies, animations, and then places. The fact that you can click on any of these and immediately see that sort of stuff is really cool. I'm going to click on animations here, and hopefully I won't get myself in trouble. Here we go. And I'll talk about that in a little bit too, but Google Photos has something called creations. It can do a lot of these automatically, and you can also do some of these manually. Some of them are better than others. And it really depends on how you choose to shoot your photos. If you do a lot of burst shots and stuff like that, you're going to get some really cool effects. But I think they're fun. I mean, they're not for everybody, but I do like them. And something else that's really great is being able to search by people. So if I just want to see every picture of my son, Max, I can click on his picture. And it's going to show me every picture that has him in it. Now that's based on me turning on face grouping in the settings. You might have seen that earlier, but you know, it's pretty cool that you can do this. So it's almost, you know, some people might create an album or do something like that. It's just nice that it kind of is able to do that. Some people don't like it kind of detecting faces, and there's privacy concerns, and that's understandable. But if you'd like to do that, that's something really neat to do. And of course, there's locations.
Quick question. Laurie brings up places is only if you allow location, correct? And I don't believe that's true. I think it's
well. I mean, it
recognizes stuff, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, depending on what you mean by the term location. Of course, if you have GPS tagging enabled in your photos, that's going to give you really great results as far as location goes, assuming you have a GPS signal. If you have location history, or location, like Google location turned on an Android device, it will be able to pull information from that to be able to show you, kind of determine sometimes a very accurate, but it can be a rough location. I mean, it might be a city and not a specific part of an area. And then the other thing it can even use is landmarks. But of course, landmarks would be specific to more of the well-known landmarks. They may not know your local statue down at your park, not yet at least. And I saw something about animations. Was that something that was a question? Or is that just
So
kind
that
of
was,
a point?
yeah, he was just bringing up a point, but based on what you were talking about, animation will also show cool stuff
Mm-hmm.
if you do like 5 shots in a burst. So it was basically
Yes.
just reiterating what you were talking about.
Yeah, and let me see. I'm on my mobile version here too. Yeah, I'm going to come back to that, but I mean, there is a cool feature in the mobile version that now will show, it'll group burst shots together. So instead of seeing 5 or 10 almost identical photos taking up space in your view, it'll now realize that those are a burst sequence and group them all together,
Yeah,
and make it a little bit easier.
shows it like a group, doesn't it? Kind of like a perforated folder
It
or
does.
something.
It does. It's really
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, it's neat.
Um, So I just want to do something here quick. I mean, I can, of course, I showed you clicking on Max's face, but I can type Max and just search. And that's very similar to clicking on his face that I saw below. However, I can also type for something a little bit more abstract. Like I could do sunrise. Okay. And I'm going to get all sorts of pictures of sunrise. Maybe some of those aren't sunrises, but you can search for things. You can even type for search for certain things like sunrise and max, and it doesn't show me anything for that. Max and sunrise. I'm pretty sure I did that and it worked, but
Well, the other nice thing too is a lot of times you're looking just for a wedding picture, but you're not sure which wedding. Let's say you went to 5 of them. It'll show you all those weddings, and that narrows your search down so you can do it. That's really kind of cool. I do that all the time.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so this one I did Max and Micah, and it shows me pictures of the two of them together. Although down here's a video it doesn't have, well, he might actually be in that video. There's some Halloween photos there. So that's
like I added my son's name, Stephen Wedding, and it brought me just the pictures of his wedding. So that's absolutely awesome. I mean, I love that part of it.
Yep. Now, just to show you something else, because I'm ultimately working up to a couple different things for us, but something you can also do is I can select one of these photos, 2 of these photos. I can even go over here and click down photos that aren't right next to each other. And if I want to add these photos into an album, I can do that. And in my case, I'm going to add these to an album up here. And let's see if I can find that quickly, Michael. Something I'm not crazy.
Did you click the plus button? Is that what you clicked?
I did. Yeah, thanks for pointing out. Yeah, so up at the top here, there's a little plus button. So you have options for a regular album, which is kind of by default private to you, a shared album, which you are ultimately going to share with other people to view and possibly allow them to kind of collaborate on if you choose to do so, or you can make an animation or a collage depending on what you're trying to do. Just for the time being, I added those to an album that you and I are going to talk about a little bit later. I just want to show you guys that. Okay. And I think I was going to just do one other thing here. Church Palo Alto is where Michael and I actually met for the first time. And I think we have an album there. I got a bunch of photos. I thought there was some way back here. Here we go. Got that one. Let's add this one and this one. All sorts of fun stuff going on here.
Yeah, William brought up cool photos of the TC meetup he brought up.
Yep. So I'm going to just add those as well. I do feel that now, see, this time it's showing the album right at the beginning. It does try to show you the ones that you've been recently been adding photos to. Sometimes I personally have issues where it doesn't really show me the albums I want to find quite as easily as I want to find. But once you start adding photos, it seems to work okay. So something I wanted to do that I think is just really cool, and I know Chris is also a really big supporter of this, is Google Photos just does some really cool stuff with built-in editing tools. I'm going to just do sunset, see if I can find, actually I know what I'm going to do even better. Okay, so I think I did this one. Yeah. There's a couple different cool ones you can work with here, and I'm going to do 2 different kinds of editing. So, this is a picture, and of course you guys may have peeked there and saw kind of the end result. But this is a photo that I took of, my wife and my 2 kids when we're at the beach, and it was a nice kind of sunset behind us. It's a nice photo in its own right, and depending on your screen and how it looks, it might look like their face is a little dark. They maybe don't show up as much from the background. within Google Photos on the web and the phone, you can really easily do some very, I'm going to say basic editing. It's simple to do, but it does some really amazing stuff. So if you look up here by the pencil, I'm going to just click on that. It brings you to this little editing interface. And before I go any further, I want to point out that another cool thing is Google Photos does something called non-destructive editing. So what that means is any of the changes I make right now and apply to this photo, I can always revert back to the original. It's basically going to update this photo in my library and also in any albums that I may have it shared in, but it's not going to save over and destroy my original photo. One little caveat to that is if you have an SD card on your phone, which I do, and I do choose to store my photos on my SD card, those photos, if you edit those, especially on your phone, Photos does not have the right, due to permissions in Android, to make changes to files it doesn't own on your SD card. So what it does is it makes those changes and saves a new copy with the adjustments you made. So you may end up seeing two very similar photos, and that's why that might be happening to you. Like it or not, I mean, it'd be great if it was able to kind of work the same for SD card photos and regular photos, but I'm more than happy to know that it's at least not destroying my original photo.
Yeah, that's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up because I did not realize that. That's awesome. Thank you.
Yep. Now, normally I would have come in here and probably just talked about auto because I think that's one of the main things. Since Chris is here, and I know she's watching me closely, and I don't know if Greg Gambone's in here, but he recently got me using filters a little bit more too. But to use Chris's words, I think two very useful things in photos are crop and auto adjust, which I totally agree with. Cropping, you may not do for every photo, but auto adjust is such an amazing tool. So before we do auto, actually I'll do auto first. I'm gonna just click auto. It's gonna basically look at this picture and not just do one thing, but kind of assess the whole photo and say, hey, what can we do to make this picture just pop a little bit more? So I'm just clicking one button. Okay. So can you guys see the changes on your side? Did that update for you guys?
Yes.
So right away you can see the faces are more visible. It did some other little, you can actually see over here, it made the picture a little bit brighter. It added a little bit more color. This is what color is. Pop is kind of like adding a little bit more detail and contrast to some of the lights and darks to make things stand out a little bit more. And vignette will kind of add a nice little edge to your photo depending on what you're doing. You can adjust all of these. I typically feel sometimes for me they're a little bit too much, so I might adjust them just a little bit. And here's vignette. If I go kind of extreme, you can see what vignetting does if you're not familiar with that. I'm just going to leave that there for now. I can also click on this picture and hold. Oops. Oh, sorry. That's a little bit different on web. So okay, click and hold to compare. So right now you should be seeing the old version. And I'm just going to let go. And now we're back to the updated version. So
now you're doing a left mouse click and hold?
Left mouse click and hold, yep. And you know, it's just a really nice way to compare the original, which is this one.
Absolutely, that's awesome.
To the new one. So you know, it really can take photos that you maybe like, but maybe like, oh man, I just didn't get it the way I wanted, and maybe even save some photos and turn them into great ones that you want to share.
I know when I was watching you on Chris's show that she did, because you did photos there as well. Mm-hmm. It was kind of, she autos everything.
Well, and you know, she and I talked about it one time. You know, the previous version of Google, when Photos was part of Google Plus, there used to be a setting where you could basically say, hey, automatically auto enhance all of my photos. And there's basically, I believe, I want to say a normal and a high setting for that. I would just set that to normal, and it was great. I mean, you could always revert it, but most of the time it ended up fixing little things that you just didn't notice most of the time. And then here's crop. Sorry.
John's asking, he says, where is the auto setting at? I believe that's the first choice there you had, right? The first little bar that you had.
So I'm going to just go back here. I'm going to set done. So let's just say I undid all that. When you first go and edit, here is, like, first of all, up at the top here, you have these three sections. This setting up here is kind of your adjustments. This middle icon is color filters, and then here is crop and rotate. Okay. So these are the three sections. So underneath adjustments, auto as well as these sliders is all part of the adjustment section. Filters we'll look at really quick in a second, and then crop and rotate is here. I'm going to go back to doing auto, let it do its thing, and now I'm going to go back to crop and rotate. Now you see I have an auto setting here. You don't always get that, but sometimes it determines, hey, there's a horizon in the background, or there's a fence here. It knows that that's not perfectly straight. So if I just click auto, oh, I mean, that was a very, very slight rotation. It didn't even adjust the zero. It's probably like 0.25. But anyways, you can also manually go here, and I can go like this, and I can drag. It shows you a little grid, and you can kind of adjust it to the way you want. So if I want to do something crazy and just kind of do something like that, I can leave it like that and hit done.
Nice.
Of course, I'm not going to leave it like that. So I'm going to just hit go back here, and I can just hit reset, and it puts me right back to my original crop and rotation. It didn't undo my color adjustments. It just undid the crop.
Nice.
And the last thing really quick here is color filters.
A couple people have to leave, but look, you guys can come back anytime. Click this same link, and the recording will be in there with all the comments. So feel free to come in later and that kind of thing. Go ahead. I'm sorry,
Sure,
Russ. Didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah. And I'm going to jump color filters I'd like to talk about really quick just to show you, and then I want to move on to some other stuff like Snapseed that I think is really important. Color filters just do, what you'd think. They're kind of photo filters. Greg Gambone pointed out a good thing that I didn't really notice before is that the color of these icons here is representative of the color of that it's adjusting within the photo. And then you can drag these little sliders for each photo and make them more or less obvious. Okay. And when you're all done, you can just hit this done button up here. And there you go. Now we're out of the editing mode, and now this is my photo now. And if I go back here, you'll see it's a little bit different than this is originally one that I had edited, and that's what it was showing. Just for the sake of our discussion here, I'm going to take that one that we just did. I'm going to also add that to our album. I'm going to try to pick up the pace a little bit, just because I know there's a few things, and I want to show people a bunch of other stuff. I do think Snapseed is really important, though, so I'm going to switch over to mobile here really quick.
All right, and we're at about 23 minutes left right now. But again, if we go over, it's not a big deal. We can go over. I just try to keep the videos at about an hour. But seriously, Russ, we're covering some really good stuff, and I think a lot of people want to know. So don't feel like you have pressure on your end. I just want you to say that.
No, I mean, it's photos is definitely, I don't want to say it's impossible to cover in an hour, but there's definitely tons of stuff you can do. And I may be too enthusiastic about it and want to show people everything. But really quick, I'm going to try to get in. So Snapseed, by the way, if for some reason you find the editing features of the Google Photos app a little limited and you want to be able to do more stuff, on mobile, there's an app called Snapseed. It's also owned by Google, but you can download that for free and add it to your phone. The cool thing about that is if you are on your phone and you want to do some cool stuff, it gives you a lot more flexibility to do things. So here's a photo I took. It's a really cute photo, but I think it's a really good photo to show the different things that you can do. So rather than just hitting the pencil down at the bottom, I'm going to go up to the little 3-dot menu in the upper right up here. Oops. Okay. I'm going to choose Edit In. And you're going to notice it's going to give me several options, but Snapseed is the one that we really care about here. So I'm going to click on Snapseed. It's going to bring that photo right over to Snapseed for me. So now we're in Snapseed. We're no longer in Google Photos at the time. When we're done, it'll bring it back in and add it to my folder, and it'll be something that uploads in Google Photos. So you have this little pencil icon down here, and you're going to notice right away you have a lot of stuff you can do. Okay, it's a little bit more advanced, but I'll say this: don't be discouraged by all the options you have. It's actually really fun to go in here and play around. The worst thing you're going to do is not save a picture. But it's worth going in here just to see what you do. Similar to Google Photos, up here you have Tune Image, and they even have their own little built-in auto, which is down here, a little wand icon. I'll click that here just to show you. Very subtle differences. I could barely even tell on my screen, so I'm not sure how that came across to you guys. Could you tell on your side, Michael?
No, not really.
Okay. But if you don't like that, if you just swipe up and down like this, you have all these different things you can change. Right now we're tuning the image, and these are all the different things that we can tune for the image. If you don't know what some of these things are, that's okay. You can play around with these and you'll learn what they are. I can explain later, maybe in a different little demo. But shadows is interesting because it kind of lightens the darker parts of your images without affecting the rest. So I chose shadows. Up and down selects what you want to adjust, and left and right adjust it. So now I'm going to swipe to the right, and just notice as I do that, it's making the dark parts of the photo lighter and darker, but the light parts are still staying the same, okay? I'm going to just lighten it up a little bit, okay? I'm going to just hit that little check mark on the lower right and save that. Everything in Snapseed is one step after the other. So even though I did that, I can still go and click the pencil again. And this is one of my main reasons for coming into Snapseed. Selective right here. You may want to adjust just one part of a photo. So selective gives you the ability to click on a certain area. So I'm going to click on my wife's face because it's a good amount darker than the rest of the photo. I'm going to click on that. And you'll see, again, I can go up and down on it. I have brightness, contrast, and saturation just for that area. And if I touch with 2 fingers, I can control what area that affects. Can you guys see that in the preview? All right, bye,
Yes,
William. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, so I really just kind of wanted to affect the main shadow on her face. That's what that red was choosing. If I go to brightness now, well, I can make just the shadow on her face brighter. Can you guys see the difference?
Yep.
So now all of a sudden she's not, I'm not saying that shadow is extreme, but that's a good way to show you what you could do with that. And then you can save that as well. And maybe one other thing you want to do is, maybe a vignette or something. Again, everything is pinched to zoom, dragging left and right. I can make it really dark, however I want. And up in the upper right-hand corner, that little icon that looks like a square with a line through it, that's your compare. So if I hold down on it, there's the original, and there's my updated one. So subtle differences. And I would say if you want to use Snapseed, you're going in there to have finer control over your changes. So I'm going to just hit the check mark there. I'm going to hit done up in the upper left. It's going to take a second to kind of make that image. And it's done. Brings me back into photos. It does not automatically replace the image we're looking at. But if I go back to my main photo screen, I should hopefully, if I did that right, go all the way to the top. And didn't put it there. I think I put it in. I can show you here. Here's my device folder view, by the way. This is another great way to see which folders. The ones with the cloud and the up arrow are your device folders that are uploading. And the ones with the little no cloud are the ones that are not uploading. So those are all ones you can adjust. And here's my Snapseed folder. So I can see my my photo I edited there. And I could, it'll automatically sync when it's time to sync. But I could also hold down on it. This is something William Rock mentioned. And if you don't have auto sync set up to auto backup all the time, but you really want to get something uploaded, you can hold it or multiple files, hit the little 3-dot menu, and choose backup now. I'm not going to really do that right now, but that'll back up that photo to the cloud right now, independent of your auto backup settings. So that's a really good way if you're out and about and you typically don't auto backup your photos while you're on data, but you have a couple photos you really want to get uploaded. You can use that feature. I think that's a really good addition. How are we doing on time? It looks like we're 8:59.
We got about 8:59.
Okay. Actually, you think
I don't know why your sound is kind of garbled for some reason. I don't know why. It just started whenever you started using that Snapseed.
I
don't know why. I don't know why that would matter, but unless it's connected into the same.
You know what it could be, and this is
the same USB as.
Well, it could actually be because I have auto backup on to sync while I'm charging, and since my phone is technically charging. Does it sound better now?
No, it's still kind of garbled, but
Okay. Is it tolerable?
Oh yeah, I mean, I can understand what you're saying, and it does get through. It just has a bunch of fuzz around it. That's all.
Okay.
But yes, absolutely.
All right, we'll hope it cleans up really quick. So really quick, one other thing. We're going to just go back to our whole album scenario here. Just going to do a search for cats. Here's a couple pictures of my cats. Let's choose different cats. Got too many cats. That's an interesting photo of a cat there from the farm. Going to click the little plus symbol here again. Going to add that to an album here. Again, same album as before. And now if I go to that album by clicking view here, you'll see now we have a few more photos if I scroll down through here. Okay. Now I'm going to show you on my phone because I typically think that maybe I'm wrong about this, but I typically share photos from my phone. I don't know if that's true for everybody, but that is typically where I share from. You can do it both from the web and from your phone. But I'm going to go to albums. And here's our cool album. And I'm going to just click on share right here, okay? Oh, and by the way, I know we don't have a lot of time, but you can actually reorganize those photos by going to edit album. And you can hold down on these and drag them and put them into different places. Okay, and you can change the title of the album. You can add text, which is the 2 T's at the top. You can add a map or a location if it's not provided. So someone asked about location earlier. You can kind of add a location to an album, which is nice. I see someone, if you add photos to an album, does it add them at the end of what is currently there? It actually looks like it added these here, the ones that I just added. It seemed to add kind of in a little bit of a random order. I'm not quite sure, but if you go up to this sort option up here, you can choose oldest first, newest first, or recently added. Can you see that? So you can choose how you want them done. Depending on what it is, I mean, I think typically you'd want to kind of see things chronologically from the start of a event to the end. I think I had that set to custom because I just dragged some stuff around. That's why I did that. So I'm just going to go back here to share. You can really share a lot of different ways. And I mean, especially if you're a Google user, a lot of people may share photos on Google Plus or through the Photos app. But you see this little option here that says Get Link. I'm going to click on it just to show you. But the nice thing about the Get Link option is done, link copy to the clipboard. That link that it just created, I can send to anybody, independent whether they have Google Photos or not. And they will be able to view this album, which I think is super easy and super great. I can also turn that off at some point. And if I turn off that link, it won't work anymore. They'll see changes I make to the album. They won't be able to add photos unless they do something else, which I'll show you later. But for Michael and I'm going to click the share icon again. I actually just learned this recently. I hate to admit this, but click, and it might look a little bit different on your phone depending on the version of Android and whatnot. But this is a Samsung Note 4, the non-explosive type. And I have Android Marshmallow on here, which is 6.0. I'm going to click more. And right at the bat, it doesn't show Michael in here, but I'm going to search for Michael. Okay, something that I think is really cool, and I didn't know this until recently, but you notice the little photos icon by his name? That tells you that that person also has Google Photos. That will only show up for people that you've interacted with on some level, maybe in a shared album or have some sort of connection to them through Google. It's not like you can just randomly search for random people and it's going to tell you if they have Google Photos if you've never communicated with them ever, which I think is kind of good. But here we go, Michael.
That is kind of cool.
Yeah, I actually didn't know that, up until maybe a month or so ago. So I'm going to click send. Now, Michael and I didn't test this, but you'll see on my side, it has a little grayed out picture of him that lets me know it's shared with him. But on his side, he's going to have an option to join that album. So once he joins the album, his picture should then not be faded like it is, and it should be kind of solid and colorful. Does that seem like it came through on your side?
refreshing to see. Don't see it yet. Let me see.
Now, if you don't have a notification on your phone, you could probably go to share it with me.
Yeah, here it is. I got it.
Okay.
I got it in the notifications up at top.
Yep.
Okay, got it. There we go.
There we go. Look at that. See who's joined. They get updates when you add to the album. So now his profile picture is solid, and now he's able to see this album. He can even comment on this album at this point, I believe, but he's not able to do much more than that. But since I like Michael and he's a good guy and I trust him, I want him to be able to add some photos too. So I'm going to go click on my little menu icon here, and I'm going to go to sharing options and share. Anyone with the link can see these photos. That's primarily there because I created that link earlier. I think if you don't create that link, you may not have that option enabled. But here's the main thing: collaborate. I'm going to click on collaborate. And now, if I go back, now, Michael, if you're able to, Michael is going to add a photo to this album, and I may even get a notification.
Yep, just added it.
All right, so since this is a custom order, hey, there we go. I'm going to guess that's your dog, so it's not mine. It says Michael Daniels. You can see that there. So there we go. It was that easy. We shared an album. He's able to add photos. We could add more people to this. We can do whatever we want with that. So that's really nice. Anything about albums that maybe I'm not thinking about right now, because I know we're getting short on time, that you want to mention, Michael, or you want me to comment on?
No, but I love, this is one of my favorite features, is sharing an album with people. We do it with work. I do it with personal. I use it. Shared albums is the best thing. And what I like you saw him earlier, we did in the top contributor program, all of us shared an album, and we just all threw our pictures in there together. That's why we made one big conglomerate of a huge, wonderful album, which I love that. I think that's great.
Okay, I agree. I mean, it's awesome. It's really great for families and events and stuff like that. Since we're getting down to our last, less than 10 minutes here, I'm going to kind of jump to a couple things quick because I at least want to mention them. And then if we decide to go longer and if people want to stick around, I can maybe explain them a little bit longer or take some questions. So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to stay on my phone. Actually show you on the desktop here, so it's a little bit bigger too. I'm going to go back. So the other really cool thing about Google Photos is something called Assistant. It used to be called Auto Movies and Auto Awesome and Auto Motion and all this kind of stuff, but now they've kind of gone with something maybe a little more professional and general sounding called Assistant. I'm going to click on that here. It does a lot of cool things. One, it shows you updates about albums, which is what we just did. Here, similar to sites like Facebook and stuff, you have Rediscover This Day. So just show me photos from a year ago. If you're a parent and you have kids, or maybe even if you're not a parent, you really like looking at these photos just to really kind of, make sure you're not letting time fly by too quickly. And you can see there's other albums that have had updates. Here's an animation. I didn't make this. This says auto-created from a batch of photos. So my wife actually took those photos. She took a batch of them, maybe several in a row, and Google just said, hey, you know what, we're going to turn that into a cute little animation. And that I think was really cool. This one right here is going to be my segue into this. I went to the Home Depot, I guess, the first Saturday of every month. They have a little kids workshop where you can just go in. It's totally free. They give you supplies to build stuff. I get to take it home with you. It's, hammer, nails, paint, glue, that sort of thing. It's really fun. So we went there and we took a bunch of pictures, and it automatically created this album for me. It just says Saturday Morning in Hollidaysburg. I did not create that album. I just took the photos, and based on my location and that I took them in a similar time frame, it created this album. So I'm going to just take you to there really quick. Okay. Now, it actually took me here because prior to this presentation, I noticed that it created an album for me, and I went into that album and I renamed it Home Depot Kids Workshop. Okay, and it shows the location here. It shows a bunch of pictures. Some of them I kind of went in and I swapped out a couple of them, whatever. I made it my own. Now, something I think is really cool, I'm going to show you here on the mobile version. Let me just minimize the. So here's the mobile version. I'm going to go back to albums. What do we got? Yeah, that is a really good feature. That backing up from other apps that's where those device folders come in. So that is really nice.
This is what you're talking about. What Mark says. Yep. He says I like it how it asked me if I would like to back up photos from my other apps.
Yep.
Very nice.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, some people. The problem is we have people that come to the forums or on Twitter and say, "Hey, either the two things are they either say, hey." Why aren't all my photos in the cloud? I see them on my phone, but I don't see them on the cloud. Well, usually it's because those photos are edited in or downloaded from or created in an app that isn't your phone, your default phone camera. And you have to walk them through, explain that they need to make sure that those folders are being backed up. And conversely, sometimes they run out of space on their phone and they use the built-in free up space feature. And that will delete, actually that should be okay, because it should only delete ones that are backed up, but people don't always use the feature within the app. They will go and delete their photos themselves and not use the app because they think that just because Google Photos installed, all of the photos are backed up safely. If you do that manually, you run the risk of deleting photos that weren't backed up. So I always recommend, and I'll show you just really quick. Right here in the menu option, I have free up space. Okay, I'm going to even click on that here really quick. It would find a bunch of stuff. I'm not going to do it. But it finds the ones that are backed up. I'm going to actually get out of that. And it will just walk you through clearing. It will delete them from your device and free up space on your device. Again, the thing I mentioned about SD cards earlier, photos cannot delete, Google Photos cannot delete photos or files that are on your SD card. It's only going to be able to delete ones that are on your phone's main memory. So if you don't have an SD card, it's going to work really great for you. Someone like me, I'm probably going to have to manually go in and do that. I really don't do that very often. But that is an option for you, and that is really handy. So here's my Home Depot Kids Workshop folder. Something I think is really cool about Google Photos, and I love it. The first thing that super impressed me with Google Photos, soon after it first launched, it was like, I think it was January 1st, whatever year, and I got a notification from Google saying, hey, something like, look at look at 2015 in review. And Google basically put together automatically a auto awesome movie of a variety of my photos and videos from the entire year. And that just like blew me away. But the cool thing is you have the ability to make those photos, those movies very easily on your phone. You can only do it on the phone. I wish you could do it on the web, but you can do it on the phone. So what I'm going to do is I'm in the album right here. Let's hold down on the first photo, and I'm going to drag down, okay? Now, I'm not going to do the whole part because I don't want to use up my bandwidth and have it take too long to do. But if I go up here and hit the plus sign, right here I have different things I can make. I can make an animation, a collage, a movie. Let's just pretend I hit movie because I did hit movie earlier. But when you hit that, it's going to grab those photos and videos together and automatically put together a really cool little home video type thing with the music, and it even kind of goes to the music. I'm going to actually show you the final result of the one that I did, and I did it just like this. I just clicked on movie, I let it do its thing, and I'm going to go back here. I'm going to go into my search. Okay, I'm going to search. I'm going to go to movies. Movies are different from videos. Videos are individual video clips, and I don't know if that's going to play here. It's going to play, but I'm not sure if you guys will hear it. Yeah, I'm pretty positive you guys can't hear that, but it edited all that together. It put the little images on top of the video. You can change the theme music. You can change the style of it. That was kind of just one basic one. It literally took 2 minutes to put that little home movie together. And that was me just kind of picking an album that created by itself. But you could imagine if you intentionally took some time to put an album or a group of photos together that were really meaningful to you. And I highly encourage mixing videos and photos to get better results. You can really go in and really fine tune, you know, what it's going to do. I'm going to actually just go, I'm going to just pick a couple photos of us here, Michael, and just see what happens here.
See if it'll animate.
Yeah, you know, it's not actually going to, Chris and I ran into this. It's restricted when you have a shared album.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't let you do certain things. I just want to show you really quick if I can grab, I don't know what the minimum is, so I'm just going to grab a few and not the video because that's probably the one that's going to take the longest. If I say add movie, let's see how quickly it does it, because I just want to show you the interface. I notice it's downloading. It's not going to be the most impressive video, but I kind of want you guys to see the interface if it'll work for us, of course. Second time's charm, maybe?
Hope so.
Okay. So this one's just going to be still shots. Now, look, it didn't take long at all, right? I mean, it's just put those together in a really nice slideshow. Like if I had videos, it would interchange those. It just puts them all together. You can't hear the music, unfortunately. But if I click on music, you can use your own music. You can even choose theme music. Thank you, Lori. My Hangouts notification. Let's see here.
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice to be able to do that.
Yeah, you can change the music. The thing I like down here in this section is if you go to audio, if I turn it the other way around, I don't know where the option is. Oh, if you have a video in it that has audio, there's an option in there to include the original audio from the video. I actually like doing that because it kind of gives it its own more of a home movie feel. And then you can just save it, and that's a really cool feature. I think we still have people here. If they want, I can show them one or two other things. It seems like people are hanging around. Do you want me to continue, or?
Yeah, you got 12 people left. Absolutely, let's do it.
Yeah, all right, let's do it. So, and thank you everybody for sticking around. It's really nice of you guys.
I agree.
So, just wanted to show you this really quick. If you have a ton of photos on your computer, if you have a ton of photos, we'll talk about that in a second. But let's just say you have some photos. Thank you, Zara. If you have a group of photos, maybe you download some from a DSLR camera, or you just have some that you got on a CD or DVD from somebody, or you have scans of old photos, but maybe you don't have thousands of them, you just have a small batch. It is super easy to add photos right through the web browser, okay? I'm gonna drag this over here. Now, I just grabbed a couple photos from before because I just wanted it to work quickly for you guys. But this could be, I've done this before with 300 photos, okay? And this is just, doing nice drag and drop stuff.
This is just a folder on Windows that you're just selecting all or whatever.
Correct, I'm just on my computer. You could do this on Mac or Windows. I'm gonna just take these photos and drag them over my Chrome icon, get back to my Google Photos, and you get this little drop files anywhere to upload, okay? I can just let go. And here you go, uploading the photo library, 1 of 2, and it's done. It asks me, do I want to add it to album? Sure. It's going to let me pick an album, or I can even create a new album. So if you have a bunch of photos you took from a day out at a park or hike, you could drag and drop them all at once. Say new album, and say, our day hike, or whatever you want to call it. It's totally up to you to do, or add it to an existing album. I'm going to just do this for the sake of you guys and just show you this album. How about this? Go. This is a superhero mission, by the way. It's really fun. And here we go. I just uploaded those photos. They're now on Google Photos. Now, if you do have a lot of photos on your computer, You can't see where I'm clicking right now, but I've downloaded the Google Photos desktop uploader, and that was from that first site that I showed you earlier on. I think I actually still have it open. Yeah, that's using this link right here that says download, okay? I'm going to open it up on my side, and I'm going to drag it over that window so you can see it.
Now, keep in mind, though, one thing that I found, I had my son's wedding all on my hard drive, and I tried to bring him into Google Photos, and I did that. The only thing is it didn't keep the original date of my son's wedding. It kept the date of when I uploaded them into the computer.
Yeah.
There is a workaround. I went onto the forum. I actually went onto the forum and asked this question. I said, I'd really like to have this date specific so it shows up in the right place. And this guy gave me a workaround, and it's pretty extensive.
It's right here.
Oh, it is?
Super easy. So let's just say, even though I just selected 2 photos, this could be an album of, I could have gone in here and selected all the photos in here, correct? And let's say these are all from your brother's wedding. You can just go here, select those photos, and then click on the little 3-dot menu, choose edit date and time, and you can say shift date and time. So if for some reason, oh my
gosh, this is wonderful.
Right, so shift date and time is good because you want to maintain the sequence of the shots. If for some reason the date is wrong, but maybe the time, like let's say the camera time was off. A lot of people have digital cameras and they never check the date and time. So when they upload them, they're like, man, the date and the time are totally off. But the thing that's right about those photos is even if the time and date were totally wrong, it still knows that you took one photo 2 minutes after another, because even if the time was off, it's still 3 minutes later than the last photo. So by saying shift dates and time, you can just go in here, choose the dates, and you can adjust the time if you want, and you can choose the time zone and hit preview. It'll show you what that'll look like, and you can change it, and it'll apply to all of those photos.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Now that is a newer feature, so maybe when you did that feature didn't exist. You used to have to go kind of like into one of these photos, and it was much more tedious. You could click info, and here's the date. You have to click on pencil and do that for each of them, at least using Google Photos.
Okay, so I'm trying to do that right now. So I just have this as an example, so I'm real curious. And if you want me to screen share, I can. You want me to show you real quick? Or?
Yeah, go for it. Just be careful that it's not in our shared album.
Okay. No, I'm not worried about it. Right here is, let's see, am I sharing me? No, let me put it on me. Okay, I'm on me. All right, so now right here I have here's that photo that I'm talking about, because it's in November 6th, and my son was actually married last December, so I want to change that date. So I selected, is that what you're saying?
Now, is it just one photo that you want to do right now?
Right now it's just one, yes.
Yeah, if for the sake of, just click the dot menu there.
Right here?
Yep, edit date and time. Now,
and then just change it.
Right, now if you notice, I don't think it actually gave you the option to shift because you're only editing one photo.
Okay.
The shifting the date and time makes more sense when you have a bunch of photos from events, because let's just say you set the same date and time for every photo. That's as if you took every photo at the exact same time on the exact same day, which we all know is impossible. So if you want to do things like be able to sequentially, like you want to sort an album by date, if you had just set the same date and time for every photo, it would just put them in some other order, maybe by file name or however you arrange them. If you shift date and time, you could say, hey, the first photo I'm changing is this date and time. Have all the other ones be the same. Adjust the date and time based on this one. So really shifting is good if you're doing a bunch of photos at the same time.
I got you. Let me tell you what, that is just awesome. That made worth me coming tonight.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm serious. That is just so fantastic. I love that.
Yeah.
And obviously, looking at it right here, Zara thinks the same thing.
Yep.
It's cool. Date adjustment. Thank you. There you go. Very welcome.
I'm going to show one more thing, and then I just want to see if anybody had any main questions, because I don't want to make people go until like 10 or anything like that. But it is important, and it's a thing that we deal with a lot in the forums when we're helping people. Is if you're in your photos, a lot of people will go in here and be like, this picture of my cat, I'm going to delete it. Okay, now, of course, I might be a bad example for this because I have a little bit of a built-in safety net. It's you can't delete one item, okay? That's because this photo is stored on my SD card, okay? I'm going to just really quickly revert back to my desktop version and show you guys something. So here's this is actually a really good example. So here's the photos that were taken with my tablet that my kids use. Obviously, I'm all for keeping photos, but that's not really an interesting photo. So let's just say I delete it. Items moved to trash are removed from your photo library, all of your synced devices, content such as albums, and Google Drive, okay? We didn't even get into Google Drive integration just due to time, but there are some options there. But for the most part, just know that you want to typically upload your photos through Google Photos, not through Google Drive, if you want to take advantage of the storage space. And I should probably mention that too. This is important, deleting stuff, because if you delete photos within, let me see if I can find a better one here. I'm really a bad example of this because I don't know if I have any.
Is it an impossibility to delete a photo from your phone but not your computer, or from your computer and not your phone, vice versa?
So here, okay. So here's one example. So this photo was something I think I took a picture of for some reason, something with Twitter. I can go into my menu here and say delete device copy, okay? So it'll delete the copy on my device, but not the copy in the cloud, okay?
Hang on, we can't see what you're seeing.
Oh, sorry. No, that's me, not you.
Okay,
there we go.
Okay.
All right.
So
I went into a phone, I clicked on my dot menu here, and I choose delete device copy. So that'll delete it from my phone, but not from the cloud.
Oh, nice. Which I think Richard asked this earlier.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, go ahead.
And Snapseed might be another good example. I think if I was looking for one where I had, but typically what happens, if I wasn't using my SD card, I feel bad that I don't have an option like that really readily available for you guys. But if I wasn't storing those photos on my device, on my SD card, if you go delete it from Google Photos, it'll delete it by default from your phone as well. It's not just the Google Cloud version that's getting deleted. I do have some other.
So that's Richard's question. Can you delete from photos and not the device?
From photos and not the device. I
guess you'd have to throw a copy of it into your gallery or something. I don't know.
I think there's a way. So you want to delete from photos but not your device. Yeah, I mean, besides doing it, like you can go into one of these photos like this, and if I edit it, if I go to edit, if I make some changes, I just did auto adjust. Doesn't really matter what I was doing. Actually, it doesn't let you do it here. Let me see if it lets me do it on the web.
Yeah, John asked this question again, and you may not know. I'm not sure, but asking about videos. The question about videos I uploaded to YouTube, but they are not saved in Google Photos. Can I get them back and then save them into Google Photos? Two different things is my answer, but you tell me what you think.
I mean, I don't want to pretend to be I'm not as familiar with YouTube, but my quick answer to that is, if you're able to re-download any of those videos from your YouTube account, then yes, you can upload them to Google Photos. You could do that right through the drag and drop that I did, or using a desktop uploader. I'm just not familiar with what options YouTube gives you for downloading videos that you created. So I don't know if I know it's not a perfect answer, but that's kind of the best answer I feel comfortable giving.
Yeah. Okay.
And last thing I should have touched.
It looks like Jorge, or George, however you say his name, I think he's answering Richard's question. You can do it if you place the photo in a folder that is not synced.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Or you can do what I do if you have an SD card and just have them stored on your SD card.
Right, exactly.
Just going back to the mobile here, and I think this is go ahead. I'll show, and if anyone has any questions. something I should have mentioned at the beginning. Let me go on my phone here. When you are first setting up Google Photos, a super important thing when you are going into backup and sync, okay? I'm gonna turn it back on here. Okay, really, really important. Upload size, okay? Now, I have mine set to original. Ignore how I have mine set. I have a terabyte or more of space. I'm not worried about using up my photos, and I do take pictures with my DSLR. People can make all sorts of arguments of, I'm just reading that comment here. Yes, you can definitely upload videos to Google Photos from your phone and from your desktop.
So I can upload a video, not YouTube, to Photos, yes? And that's what
Yes.
you're answering, yes, okay.
In fact, one of the best things I did was, before my older son was born, we bought I'm going to say an old school now, because now they are kind of less, people don't buy them as much anymore. But I bought a traditional HD camcorder, and we had tons of videos, and they were all really huge files. Well, I just took all those folders of videos that were all pretty large on my computer, and I used the Google Desktop Uploader to select that folder and have them upload. And just to show you really quick, I did bring this up before. Here's the Google Desktop Uploader. This is just for uploading, okay? It does not sync anything back to your computer. It's purely a way of getting your files from your computer to Google Photos a little bit more reliably. And you'll see here I have high quality, free, unlimited storage, okay? That is the biggest thing. I don't know why I forgot to mention at the beginning, probably because I have 1,000 things on my mind. But if you set this as well as your phone to high quality, here's my phone right here. If you choose high quality for that, it has very good settings. I think 16 megapixels, which is a very large photo, even from a digital camera, like a DSLR camera. 16 megapixels is the max file size, not file size, but resolution. And videos, I think, are uploaded at 1080p. So very few people are ever going to have files or photos that they're not going to be okay with high quality. It does technically kind of, I want to use the word compress lightly, because I don't think it's really detectable by most people. You really have to go and scrutinize it to even figure out what they did. But if you use high quality on these options, you can upload as much stuff as you want and you'll never run out of space. But you have to do it through Google Photos.
Video included though, right?
Video included. If you do it through Google Drive, you can add a folder. You can make it so Google Photos shows you, and I think I actually have that right behind here. So here's Google Drive. Show Google Drive photos and videos in your Photos library, okay? If you upload photos to Google Drive, which you can do, they are not eligible for the unlimited storage space at high quality, okay?
That's a key point.
That is really, really important. So you have to make sure that if you're going to use Google Photos and you have a lot of stuff, do it through Google Photos or through the Google Photos uploader. Don't do it through Google Drive, okay? And another little cool tip related to this, if I go back to Photos here, I have to remember where this is myself. Settings, okay. This is, I'll go back a little bit. This is the web version of Google Photos, okay? Clicking on the menu in the upper left, and down here I have Settings. This button right here, Recover Storage. Some of you may know that by default, I think you maybe get, what is it now, maybe 15 gigs of storage with Google, with your Google account, that's shared across Google Photos, Gmail, Google Drives, YouTube, some other things, I believe. What happens is a lot of people upload all these photos and they don't set it to high quality. They put it on original, and they end up uploading all these photos and they wonder why all of a sudden they're out of storage space. And that can cause problems like Gmail. You won't be able to send or receive emails, and we see problems related to that. This Recover Storage button will actually look at all of the photos that you uploaded at original quality, and it will convert them to the high quality setting. So even if you think, ooh, I accidentally uploaded that original, I want to free up space, you can hit Recover Storage, and literally all of your photos will still be available on Google Photos. They'll just be converted to the high quality versions. You probably won't even notice the difference. Awesome. And I mean, you can save
tons of
gigabytes of stuff.
Data, yeah.
Yeah.
It's been almost an hour and a half. I'm going to go ahead and end this for video wise.
Yep.
If anybody wants to come in here, if you're signed in with a Google account and you want to come in here and talk to Russ, I'm sure, Russ, if you're up to it, you'll talk to him.
Yeah, are there people here who have a couple more questions? I'm more than happy to.
We can answer some questions.
What we'll do? Will it convert this to like just a Google Hangout?
It is a Google Hangout.
Yeah.
That's
plus, it's business Hangout, so I didn't know how that worked, but
yeah, yes, I can invite them in just like I invited you originally. They can come in here and ask questions and talk things, and but I am going to end it just for the sake of it's hour and so long. And we'll do it again if we have to. If we need to do another one, we'll do another one. I have no problem with that. I'm sure you don't either.
No, and thank you very much. Honestly, it could almost be like a 2-part thing, but we tried to lump as much as we could into one show. So
we did indeed, and I am so thankful that I had you in because again, you saved me on that wedding picture. I'm going to download all those wedding pictures now and get the dates correct on them because the workaround he gave me, I was just like, oh my God, there's no way I can do that. So anyway, this one was perfect.
Yeah. Well, just remember, you don't have to download anything. Or do you mean download?
Right, I know. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I just have to transfer them from my Dropbox into my Google Photos because that's where they were originally. So.
Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. I'll stick around here when you end this, and if people are here, I'll chat for a little bit, and then if not, I'll say goodbye. So.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you, folks. Thank you so much. Remember the Top Contributor Program. Remember what it's all about. Is these guys go in and help people all the time. This is the kind of stuff. Remember Russ. I mean, seriously, you guys can look him up on Google Plus. You can click his icon or whatever in the comments. You can just click his icon, take you to a Google Plus profile, automatically take you over there, and you can learn a little bit about him, and it has all his information there, etc. So it's one thing that's really cool about this Business Hangouts that allows you to do that kind of stuff and get information on different people. Thank you very, very much, everyone, for coming. I really appreciate it. I'm so thankful that it worked this time. Did have a little bit of glitch with the sound for whatever reason. I think it might have been, and I'm just guessing, the connection for your mic and the connection for your cell phone USB or whatever might be in one and the same, and it was kind of conflicting because it only seemed to work whenever you were. Oh yeah, it's definitely better now.
Good.
Folks, I'm going to invite you in if you want to come up. I can get 8 other people in here. Just let me know, or I'll just invite everybody, and you either say yes, no, or whatever when you get the invite. Thank you again. I'm going to end it now for the broadcast. For those of you that come back and watch this, please ask your questions in here, and we'll keep these rolling throughout the week, and I'll get them to Russ if he can answer any of them.
All right.
Thanks again, Russ.